And we're getting into now this latest event that happened in Austin, Texas. And this comes out: attack in Austin, outraged lone wolf or a false flag op? It is less easy to dismiss Jonathan Capehart, a blogger for the CIA's favorite newspaper and cherished Operation Mockingbird asset, the Washington Post. And remember, the New York Times and the Washington Post and other publications from around the world attend these Bilderberg meetings, and they've taken sworn a oath of silence against reporting on their plans for the one world government, the New World Order. And this is very bad stuff. It says here, I am struck by how Joe Stack's alienation is similar to that we're hearing from the extreme elements of the Tea Party movement. So right off the bat here, we're seeing a connection right to the Tea Party movement, which makes me very, very suspicious right out of the get-go. And then how they always want to bring Timothy McVeigh in. They always want to compare people to Timothy McVeigh. When McVeigh was more than disgruntled, he was a government agent, and he was. He was a CIA asset. Oklahoma City was an inside job. If you haven't done any research on that, check it out for yourself. It's an absolute positive inside job. I haven't read the manifesto of this Joe Stack personally, but I had heard a part of it being read on Esoterica over on 12160.org. And from what I heard, it's nothing any different than what the Unabomber or any of these other manifestos, In further review, I guarantee you'd find a lot of talking points similar as what's being pushed on the mainstream media of CNN and Fox and all them, and what's being put out in these documents to law enforcement coming out of DHS. Says here, it is possible he was set up or possibly killed and put in remote-controlled plane that was directed into the Echelon office complex that houses IRS offices in Austin, considering government complicity in numerous terrorist events, including the documented false flag event of September 11, 2001, and the obvious government operation in Oklahoma City. There is a distinct possibility that this could happen. And look at that, the Echelon office, where Echelon is part of the DARPA Big Brother system that they're implementing, a government program. Isn't it funny in this Orwell world, this 1984 George Orwell world we're living in? Says here, source, FBI knew Austin attack was coming. Dallas office dispatched agents yesterday to be on the ground in Austin. So here, let's see here. Paul Joseph Watson reported this. A trusted source has told the office that FBI knew Austin was going to be attacked and had dispatched officers from its Dallas headquarters yesterday afternoon to be in place for today's incident. And we've seen this on 9/11. This is the same MO. The source claims that the confidential memo was circulated yesterday detailing that a building in Austin was going to be the target of an attack today. He was told this by an informant who works in the Dallas FBI office. Four FBI agents hurriedly left the Dallas office yesterday to be ready and on the scene for the aftermath of the incident, according to the informant, who was shaken when he saw events unfolding today and put two and two together. A separate witness told KXAN News that there were hazmat teams and fire trucks in place across the street before the plane struck the building. So obviously there was some inside information here about this. They had already emergency teams and stuff on the site. We're just waiting for it to happen. They're dispatching FBI. Whether the attack was the work of a lone individual or part of a larger setup, the aftermath is being exploited to the full by the corporate media and people like Glenn Beck, who are blaming the incident on constitutionalists and the liberty movement, implying that anyone who shares any of the grievances outlined in Stack's lengthy manifesto are also intent on crashing planes into buildings. See the propaganda and the rhetoric? You can't be taken in by this Glenn Beck. He's a shill. He's a sham. He's a fraud. He is an enemy of the Republic. And don't forget that. And don't forget to not be afraid to tell other people that. Says here, of course, the previous staged terror attack, the Christmas Day underwear bomber incident, was proven to be a setup, and the authorities repeatedly had to change their cover story after eyewitness Kurt Haskell, who was initially derided by the media, was eventually proven right in the fact that the bomber was allowed to board Flight 253 by order of the State Department. Oh my God, here. It says here, host of Joe Stack's manifesto site deletes the claim that the FBI asked for its removal. This was reported by the Business Insider. The strange story of Joe Stack's anti-IRS manifesto. And again here, the IRS. And we're coming up on tax day again. You know what I'm saying? Updated hours before he crashed his plane into the IRS office in Austin, Texas, killing one, continues. Well, I guess it would be killing two. I guess a secretary was killed, and he was apparently, or claimed to have been killed. So the hosting company of Stack's site said took down the page because what they said was an FBI request. You know, and anyway, they can easily plant anything on, you know, something like this on anybody's Facebook page, website, anything. You know, so that doesn't prove anything. You know, and like I've always said a million times, follow the money. And this would come out of Goats and Men, Joe Stack's 9/11 NSA and Homeland Security related defense contractor clients. The software programmer believed to have crashed his plane into the Echelon building in Austin, Texas reads like a guidebook to defense contractors with connections to 9/11, NSA, and Homeland Security. The FBI had his webpage removed. The screen message previously said the FBI had it removed from the internet, but of course the client list from the webpage had been archived, and the corporations on it, such as Interstate Electronics Corporation, which needed Mr. Stack's help on developing a GPS-based flight management system of all things. IEC is wholly owned subsidiary of I3, which is a defense contractor, which obviously Homeland Security and NSA connections. There's also this report from Wade Madsen on OpTeb News from an L3 consultant to the NSA who had watched a live feed of the first 9/11 plane impact as it happened. L3 is included among corporations which were investigated by the SEC for unusual stock put options in relation to 9/11. Cylink Corporation, another on Mr. Stack's client list, had its chief executive officer, William Crowell, and he was the National Security Agency, worked there, several senior positions. So he was the director of the agency. You know, and this article goes on, more and more dirt. You know, and you could check it in the news section for February 23rd, 2010, right at the Harry Thomas Show archives at harrythomas.info. Everything I talk about is documented. I don't sit here and make this stuff up. I don't have the kind of imagination to even come up with this kind of madness. And again, we see CNN reporting pilots' friends were shocked. Stack was an easygoing guy. I can't believe it's the same person, says Rick Furley, an Austin musician who played in a band with Stack for a period more than 2 years ago. Stack played bass, the accordion, and sang for the band. According to the band's website, Stack was very musical, and conversations with his bandmates typically revolved around music, not grievances he may have had. So, you know, his family says that this is out of order. You know, it just doesn't seem like him. They don't think it was him. He wasn't known for going around ranting around about the government. In fact, one of the reporters over at InfoWars, Rob Dew, has the same story. He said he played with Stack in a band, and he said, you know, there was no indication at all that this had any part of his personality. Which this here is starting to scream Patsy to me. So this has every indication of being another false flag, that they're just using this guy, and that's it. He was just somebody maybe that they couldn't keep a tight lid on, and they needed to get rid of. But anyway, this does seem contrived. They are using false flags. We know that for sure.